Kia ora. This is my critical reflection on how Destiny School is setting and meeting high expectations for all learners. These learners include learners with disabilities or learning support needs. It was evident to me that Destiny School has a range of learners with their own special needs or learning difficulties. The class that I was in happened to have a child with autism, happened to have a few students with, I don't like the word behaviour management issues, but a few students that were critical thinkers, overexcited about mahi, and in a sense got lost in the confusion or the excitement of learning and found themselves easily distracted or distracting others. There was also a student in the class who found it very hard to stay on task. And when he did become on task, it was in an area where he felt really comfortable. There was also a girl who had some disabilities. Her learning was great, her speaking was clear, she just had a heart condition, but was so full of life. With these range of students, I observed my pauawhina making it work for all of her tauira in her class. These were not her target students, but these were her students that had difficulties or needed extra support in either getting started or staying on task. I was overly excited about the way Miss Porter would spark their knowledge of inquiry, question them, prompt questions to ignite the fire of learning into them. She supported their needs without making them feel excluded, or you wouldn't even know that these were students that needed support to either stay on task or to get started. Ms. Porter engaged with her students well, had a range of teaching. The class had year 2 students, year 3s and 4 students in this one class of 28 students. Miss Porter managed herself well. You could tell that she was an experienced teacher and knew her stuff really well. Her lessons came from the Cambridge curriculum, which is 2 year levels higher than the New Zealand NZQA curriculum. I was so overwhelmed by the way she conducted her modelling and her guide teaching. She would have examples of prior learning of every subject, just in case she needed to go back to support the students in reigniting that spark for fire, for learning. At Destiny School, no students are higher or lower than each other. They are all equal. And that was amazing to see, because it was evidence that she would use the tuakana to help the tainer in order for the tainer to then become the tuakana. When we would be out on PE, those students, the student with autism and heart problems, there was no evidence that they had special needs or they needed to be supported. And that was because the way that the classroom and the environment that they were in, they didn't know any different. They didn't know that they were different to the other students in the class. They were all treated equal. I also thought it was amazing that the whole school knew of particular students, but they didn't expose them and identify them as students with needs. She would place her high learners with her low learners. She would place her learners that needed support with the students that didn't need support, and that was tuakana taina. I was so in awe of these students and the way that they exemplified the integrity of each other and identifying that no one is different, no one is less, and no one is above. I could see that Miss Porter went out of her way to help those students that were falling behind because of absences or falling behind because the knowledge just wasn't sparked. She would go out of her way to help them spark the knowledge that was needed in order for them to be at the same space, learning space, as the teachers as the other students in her classroom. One thing that I thought was amazing that Miss Porter did on Fridays was gold time. This was time where she spent the 2 middle blocks exposing the children to life skills, exposing the children to hands-on learning. This time was spent playing shops. She would have money and toys for the students to be able to purchase, which was developing engaging in their life skills of discovery. She would also have these stations, at least 5 stations throughout gold time. So she had money and toys available for the students to become the shopkeeper and the buyer. The computers were accessible for inquiry-based learning on school apps. She would have cardboard and glue and sellotape. This was all to help spark the discovery and ignite the imagination of these students. She would also bring slime and straws to allow the students to have that hands-on experience of what does this do. She also had a station where there was glitter, stickers and glue in order for these students to let their creativity run wild on them. It was evidence that Miss Porter always allowed her students to be comfortable in their learning space and not know that anyone was special needs or had disabilities in learning. She would use these students as leaders in her classroom to help them feel comfortable in their learning environment and help them feel like they belonged. In all, it was evident that there was no student higher or lower, they were all equal.